Demodogs are the adolescent stage of the Demogorgon's life cycle, first appearing prominently in Season 2. They begin as small slug-like creatures birthed from hosts infected by the Upside Down, such as Will Byers and later victims of the Mind Flayer. These slugs grow into quadrupedal predators, resembling a cross between a large reptile and a dog, which gives them their nickname. Their bodies are sleek but muscular, with elongated limbs designed for speed and power. Like the adult Demogorgon, their heads bloom open into petal-like sections filled with sharp teeth, though their proportions are slightly smaller. Demodogs function as pack hunters, relying on numbers rather than individual dominance. They communicate through screeches and body language, coordinating attacks with precision. Their speed makes them dangerous in open areas, and they can overwhelm human targets quickly when attacking in groups. Unlike the full-grown Demogorgon, Demodogs primarily crawl on all fours, which gives them stability and acceleration in confined spaces like tunnels. Their strengths lie in coordination, adaptability, and physical ferocity. They are capable of tearing through human flesh and overpowering multiple armed individuals when in a swarm. Demodogs are also linked to the hive mind of the Mind Flayer, which grants them a level of organization beyond instinct. When controlled by the larger intelligence, their actions serve specific goals, such as destroying obstacles or targeting key threats to the Upside Down. Their weaknesses mirror those of the Demogorgon: vulnerability to fire, explosives, and sufficient physical trauma. Individually, they are easier to kill than a fully matured Demogorgon, but in groups, their threat level multiplies. They also depend on the Mind Flayer's control. If the central mind is weakened or cut off, they lose coordination and become easier to fight. The existence of Demodogs illustrates the evolutionary process of the creatures from the Upside Down. They serve as a bridge between the slug-like parasites and the fully matured Demogorgon, proving that these monsters are not static, but part of a larger biological hierarchy. The shadow monster, often referred to as the Mind Flayer's earliest form, is introduced in Season 2 as a massive, mist-like entity inhabiting the skies of the Upside Down. Unlike the Demogorgon or Demodogs, which are physical predators, the shadow monster is composed of shifting black particles that form a towering, spider-like silhouette. Its form can stretch across miles of landscape, with long tendrils that resemble storm clouds or smoke stretching into the horizon. This makes it one of the largest and most ominous entities connected to the Upside Down. The shadow monster's presence is more psychological and atmospheric than purely physical. It spreads through spores and particles that contaminate air and soil in both the Upside Down and the real world when rifts are open. These particles can enter human hosts, creating sickness, hallucinations, and eventually full possession. When Will Byers is infected, the shadow monster exerts control over his mind and body, demonstrating its ability to dominate living organisms from within. Through this connection, it gathers intelligence, manipulates behavior, and establishes a stronger foothold in the human world. The shadow monster's strengths lie in its vast size, near immortality, and ability to control both living and non-living matter. Unlike smaller creatures, it does not need to engage in combat directly. Instead, it spreads its influence through environmental control and possession. It operates more like an invading virus than a traditional predator. Its intelligence is also far greater than the Demogorgon or Demodogs, as it can strategize, anticipate human behavior, and manipulate its victims emotionally and physically. Its weaknesses are subtler. While difficult to harm physically due to its smoke-like composition, it is vulnerable to heat and fire, which disrupt its form and sever its connection to hosts. This is why extreme heat treatments are used on Will to expel the entity from his body. The shadow monster also relies on the stability of interdimensional rifts. Without access to the real world, its ability to project influence is limited. The smoke monster is a more concentrated manifestation of the shadow monster's influence, appearing as dense black clouds that can move independently within confined spaces. Unlike the towering atmospheric form of the shadow monster, the smoke monster operates at ground level, often resembling rolling fog or tightly packed smoke that moves with unnatural precision. It is composed of the same particle-like matter, but in this state, it can slip through vents, cracks, and other small openings, making it extremely invasive. This form allows the entity to directly infect living hosts. When it enters a person's body, it embeds itself deeply in the respiratory and nervous systems, essentially hijacking their mind and connecting them to the Upside Down's hive mind. Victims experience hallucinations, loss of free will, and physical deterioration as the infection spreads. Will Byers' possession in Season 2 is the clearest example. He gains visions of the Upside Down, loses control over his actions, and becomes a conduit for the smoke monster's surveillance of the human world. The smoke monster's primary strength lies in infiltration. It can bypass defenses that would stop larger creatures like Demodogs or the Demogorgon. Its ability to silently invade and control humans makes it a more insidious threat because it weaponizes people against themselves and their communities. Through its hosts, it gathers intelligence, communicates with other creatures, and directs the broader invasion strategy. However, this form has notable weaknesses. Like the shadow monster, it is highly vulnerable to heat. When exposed to fire or intense temperatures, the smoke monster is forced out of its host, as shown when Will is subjected to controlled heating to purge the entity. Additionally, it cannot fully sustain itself without a host in the human world. It requires either the Upside Down's environment or living organisms to anchor its presence. The Mind Flayer is the central intelligence of the Upside Down, and the entity behind nearly every monster that appears in Stranger Things. Unlike the Demogorgon or Demodogs, which are biological predators, the Mind Flayer is a hive mind overlord. It controls the actions of creatures connected to the Upside Down, and extends its influence into the human world through rifts, spores, and parasitic infection. Its true form in the Upside Down is a towering, spider-like silhouette, with immense limbs that stretch across the landscape, resembling a living storm system fused with an arachnid. The Mind Flayer's power lies in its ability to command an entire ecosystem. Every Demogorgon, Demodog, and infected human operates as an extension of its will. This connection allows it to act with coordination that surpasses animal instinct. It can direct simultaneous attacks, build networks of tunnels, and manipulate hosts without needing to be physically present. When it infected Will Byers, the Mind Flayer used him as both a spy and a communication hub, monitoring human resistance and relaying information across dimensions. Its strengths are not limited to control. The Mind Flayer is highly intelligent, capable of long-term planning and strategic deception. Unlike the smaller creatures, which hunt for survival, the Mind Flayer works with the purpose of spreading the Upside Down's domain. It adapts quickly to new obstacles, creating biological weapons like the spider monster to counter human resistance. This adaptability makes it more dangerous than any individual creature. The weaknesses of the Mind Flayer center on its dependence on connection. It requires open gates to extend its influence into the human world. If a gate is closed, its control over creatures and hosts in Hawkins weakens or collapses. Additionally, it is vulnerable to extreme heat, which disrupts the particles and connections it uses to operate. This vulnerability is exploited repeatedly by the characters, who rely on fire and electricity to repel its influence. The Mind Flayer serves as the explanation for why every monster exists. The Demogorgon, Demodogs, and even the parasitic slugs are all extensions of its hive. It is not merely a background presence, but the core antagonist that turns the Upside Down from a strange alternate dimension into an organized, invading force. The spider monster is a physical construct created by the Mind Flayer in Season 3, designed as a weapon to directly combat humans in Hawkins. Unlike the Demogorgon or Demodogs, which evolved naturally within the Upside Down, the spider monster is built from the remains of living organisms. Rats, and eventually human victims, are possessed, melted down into organic sludge, and fused together into a massive creature under the Mind Flayer's control. The result is a towering, grotesque beast resembling both a spider and a grotesque mass of flesh, with multiple limbs and an amorphous, constantly shifting body. The spider monster's appearance is horrifying because it is composed of recognizable features, bones, teeth, and faces, merged into one monstrous form. This construction demonstrates the Mind Flayer's ability to weaponize life itself, turning ordinary creatures into raw material for its invasion. The monster moves with surprising agility for its size, able to climb walls, smash through buildings, and overpower groups of people. Its powers come from sheer physical dominance. The spider monster is strong enough to tear apart structures and toss vehicles, and its body can regenerate or reassemble after damage due to its fluid composition. It also spreads psychological terror, as victims see elements of loved ones or familiar animals embedded in its body. As with all creatures linked to the mind flayer, the spider monster operates as part of the hive mind, responding instantly to the entity's commands. The weaknesses of the spider monster mirror those of the mind flayer. It cannot exist independently and collapses if the connection to the central mind is severed. Heat and electricity are effective against it, destabilizing its fused body and forcing it to retreat or collapse. During its final battle in the Starcourt Mall, fire and explosives play a critical role in weakening it enough for the characters to survive the encounter. The spider monster represents the next stage in the Upside Down's invasion strategy. Rather than relying on existing predators, the Mind Flayer begins creating custom weapons out of corrupted life. This makes the threat less predictable and shows that the Upside Down can adapt to human resistance by inventing entirely new creatures when needed. Vecna is the most human-like monster in Stranger Things, introduced in Season 4 as both a new villain and the ultimate revelation of the Upside Down's origins. Unlike the Demogorgon or Spider Monster, Vecna was once human. Henry Creel, later known as One, the first child to be experimented on at Hawkins' lab. After 11 banished him into the Upside Down, the environment reshaped his body into a monstrous form. His skin became charred and fused with organic vines from the Upside Down, giving him a skeletal, corpse-like appearance. His body is tall and gaunt, with exposed muscle tissue and tendrils constantly moving beneath his skin, visually linking him to the landscape of the Upside Down itself. Vecna's powers stem from his psychic abilities, amplified by his transformation. He possesses telekinesis strong enough to crush bones and organs from a distance, and telepathy that allows him to invade minds. His most notable ability is creating visions and hallucinations in his victims, drawing on their darkest traumas and fears. Once he locks onto a target, he immobilizes them mentally and physically, then executes them by snapping their bones and gouging out their eyes, leaving behind a distinct and horrifying signature. This method of killing also strengthens his connection to the Upside Down, feeding the hive with psychic energy. What makes Vecna different from the other monsters is his autonomy. While the Demogorgon, Demodogs, and Spider Monster function as extensions of the Mind Flayer, Vecna operates as a general and strategist. He does not simply follow orders, but actively shapes the Upside Down strategy for invading Hawkins. His intellect and knowledge of the human world make him uniquely dangerous. He understands both sides and uses that understanding to exploit weaknesses. Vecna's strengths combine psychic dominance with physical resilience. His body is durable, and his connection to the Upside Down allows him to draw strength from the environment itself. He can extend tendrils into the world, open new gates through his victims' deaths, and manipulate matter around him. His weaknesses are rooted in his humanity. Unlike the incorporeal Shadow Monster or the sprawling Mind Flayer, Vecna has a physical body that can be injured. Fire, gunfire, and direct attacks can weaken him if executed precisely. Additionally, music serves as a unique countermeasure against his mental control. When victims listen to songs tied to strong personal memories, it disrupts his psychic hold and allows them to escape. Vecna represents the fusion of human intelligence and upside-down power. His existence reveals that the monsters of Stranger Things are not only alien predators, but also shaped by human choices. By connecting the human world to the Upside Down through his transformation, Vecna becomes the most personal and calculated threat faced by the characters, embodying both the horror of the dimension and the consequences of tampering with forces beyond control. There's always more hidden beneath the surface, so don't stop here. Click the next video on your screen to uncover even more details you might have missed.